Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. This is USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is The Wise Ones. I love episodes like this where we actually have not only our co-host, but we have our guest who is also a co-host and one of our team members. It's going to be a fantastic show with CJ Peterson. Let's welcome first the star of our show, Mr. red.olaughlin. Hello, Red.
Howdy, just another wonderful day in paradise. I'm glad to be starting the show here with you today.
I am as well. And as I mentioned, I'm super excited that we've got one of our own here, one of our community members, one of our team members, CJ, who does such a great job in marketing and promoting and supporting what it is we're doing here.
Absolutely. I've known CJ for a few years. She and her sister Lydia, I bumped into at an event, I think at Rice University. And the first thing I noticed was I had to look up to talk to both of them. They are tall girls anyway. But I've come to know CJ because she and her sister formed a company called Texas Sisters Press, and they are both prolific writers. They write in a number of different fields, and not only that, they are best-selling. They're also award-winning. I mean, just you go from one thing to another. They got the whole package, and probably one of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet is CJ. I just really and truly, I have a question. Okay, how can I do that? And boom, there's the answer for me. And so when I need something that I really can't find somewhere else, where's CJ's phone number? I can't find it. Let me call somebody. And that happened last time. I didn't have her phone number, or I had it, couldn't find it. Anyway, but she's not my last resort, but she generally is the stopper that I can go to and get the information that I need.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I haven't known CJ as long as you, but I can just tell you that she is a yes person. She gets things done. You ask her to get involved in something and she jumps in and she takes care of it right away, which I love. You don't find that very often with people, but I really do appreciate that. So, Red, before we bring CJ out, tell our audience who's joining for the first time or the second time and thinking, what does this Red guy do? Tell them about the value you offer.
I'm a writer. I write every day. I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships, treat a cause, fix a problem, treat a symptom, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So when I do my research, it's focused on what can we do to have a longer, healthier life. So my books I've written are on longevity and how disease progresses. And I focus on those items because that's something that people can actually do and see results in. That's my primary purpose. I speak quite often. I'll be speaking at the end of the show on a brand new show called The Talking Heads. We're episode 5 out of 6, and we're talking about toxins. Last week we started talking about Popeye's chicken, and we're going to finish up Popeye's chicken today and start picking up the Popeye's Cajun fries, and then wrap up that part of the toxic chemicals that we face every day on the kinds of foods that we eat. And I publish books for people. I've done 4 for Dr. JACALYN, 2 of which are #1 best-selling authors, and 2 are #1 best-selling new releases. And so I help people occasionally with that. It's not a primary part of my job as a book coach or book strategist, but I will do it depending on the situation. But most of the time, you have a finished product ready to roll. I can publish that for you in record time and save you a lot of money. And lastly, thanks to the USA Global TV and Radio Network, I am a host, co-host, and presenter on the live streaming broadcasts that are done. I think she's doing around 25 or 30 a week now. I'm not sure. It's more than you can almost believe when you think it's the kind of operation that she's running. It's just unimaginable that much gets done in a week's time.
Thanks so much, Red. Two things before we bring out CJ. Has anyone contacted you since you did your talking heads to say that they were upset about it?
Oh, about the Popeyes chicken? No.
Yeah. Okay,
Uh,
good.
yeah, most everything there is attributable to the Food Babe. And on her blogs that she has, one of the last little things she has is please share. So it's not that she's keeping anything. She actually got that information from them. And it took several iterations of asking before they actually gave her something. And then she has her own policy. If they don't provide me what they cook, I mean, what's in their products, she doesn't eat them. And so it's not that it's secret, but it's not something they want to share to the world. But we'll talk more about that in the next hour.
All right, perfect. And the other thing I wanted to share was yesterday I went onto YouTube and I was trying to figure out how many shows I've actually done because I saw the number 1900 somewhere. And it turns out I finally found content total number of videos since October 11th, 2019, 3,345 shows I've produced.
That's
Unbelievable.
You kind of underestimated that in the class we had a couple days ago.
I did for sure. But enough about that. Thanks for taking the journey with me, and let's welcome CJ, who's also taking the journey. Hi.
Hi. Well, first of all, congratulations, JACALYN. That's a huge number, and as Red said, 30 a week is insane. I tip my hat to you. Second of all, you guys embarrassed the tar out of me, but thank you very much.
Well,
thank you for having me on.
You're a very impressive person. By the way, I don't know how tall you are. I don't know if you want to share that or not. I'd also like to know how tall Red is.
I am 5'11". My sister is 6 foot.
Okay, I'm 5'3".
And I'm 5'9".
Well, the
All
funny part is my husband's boys are 6'7" and 6'4". My husband is 6'4". I'm actually the short one in my immediate family. My mom was 6 foot. My sister 6 foot. My dad was 6'2". My brother was 6'4" and 6'6". And then, like I said, his sons are 6'7" and 6'4", and they have a daughter who's 4'8".
Well,
Oh
now I
my
have a daughter
goodness.
that's 4'10". I have a sister 5 foot. My mom was 5 foot.
Mhm.
But everybody else, I think I'm generally the tallest person in my family, although I may have a brother I can look eye to eye at right now. But I used to be 5'10", but over time the things kind of settled a little bit. I went into the military, 5'10", and then the last couple of times I was actually measured, I think an outgoing physical after 31 years, down about 5'9" and a quarter or something like that. So I figured in the last 20 some years I've probably shrunk another quarter.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I actually, in my mind, because I haven't met either of you in person yet, I imagine Red at like 6'2.5", and CJ, I picked you at 5'8", 5'8.5". Isn't that funny? What about me? Did you think I was 5'3"?
No, I thought you would be like 5'6", 5'7"-ish.
Yeah, a little more than 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
So, CJ, a question for you before we get into our topic for today. Do you wear heels quite often because your husband's so much taller? No.
I don't. I rarely wear heels. I have weak ankles. When I was youngling, we did hockey, and so my ankles got reliant on the stiffer boots. So I have weak ankles. So I turn them quite easily. So me and high heels are just, they don't go very well. And if you knew me last year, I actually broke one ankle and sprained the other at the same time, and then re-sprained the sprain. So I'm kind of known as a Princess Grace. I try not to challenge that too much.
I had a friend of mine, he about the same size as me, but he was dating a girl 6'4", and her job was to show Chihuahuas. And the Chihuahuas are about the size of her 4 or 5 inch heels that she would wear when she was showing them.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. I have tons of high heels and I don't wear them at all. I'm wearing slippers right now. I have no interest in wearing them. I wear this or I wear sneakers. So anyway, enough about our footwear for today. This is a really exciting topic. So
In fact, I'm usually a barefoot kid. So I'm usually either barefoot or flip-flops and the occasional boots.
Yeah, I go with sandals most of the time just to get that part in there.
It's not with socks, right? Not.
Yes, actually it is. I just prefer
no.
Yeah, for a 77-year-old, I can get away with it.
No, you really can't.
I
Red,
can.
we have to talk to you offline about that.
You can talk all you want.
He's committed to staying as he is. Okay, I can
Yes.
respect that. So, CJ, first of all, I would love for you to share with our audience. You've joined our team as a co-host, and you are on the corner bookstore. As soon as I saw you, I put up the corner bookstore graphic. Fortunately, I didn't run with that. And you're doing that the first Thursday of each month, but you're going to be filling in on other shows as well. Tell us about your experience on the first show.
I enjoyed it. I really did. I'm kind of co-hosting with all y'all, but mainly the fabulous Diane and Dr. JACALYN are the ones that do the corner bookstore. And Diane Floyd-Bame has off the first weekend of Thursdays, which is why I'm jumping into fill-in. I love the corner bookstore. I love everything in regards to the author world, so it was a great fit. We had Rox and Charles, which are known as Breakfield and Berkey, on the first one. And I think it went very well. I enjoyed it.
Well, we love having you, so thank you again.
Well, thank you.
Lots of fun. So, CJ, when you think about all that you've accomplished and all the awards that you've won and all the people you've helped, what really stands out for you as the most meaningful?
Honestly, it's when a first-time author gets published. One of the things that Texas Sisters Press does is an annual holiday anthology. And for each of the anthologies, we've had at least one author that has not been published. We try to mix it up a little bit, have some that are and some that aren't. But when that author sees their work for the first time, or some of the other authors that we've since published and their actual real first book, the excitement is just something you can't contain and you can't put a price on.
Thanks so much for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense. Red?
She's won a lot of awards. She's been recognized in many different areas. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your writing, how you started, and the kind of genres you're in, so that people can appreciate the width that you have as an author?
Okay. I'm a multi-genre author. I tell people that I write big books, big people books, and little people books, but I am primarily a big people book. I'm a little people book by accident and happenstance. What I have is I have a standalone, which is Strength from Within. There's also the Grace Restored series, which is 5 books, Holy Flame Trilogy, which is 3 books. Those 3 things are going on at the same time. And then there's a 20-year jump, and it's for 4 books into the Divine Legacy series. And then that's the kids from the first few series. So the characters actually jump over storylines within this one. And I call it the Team Angel series. And Angel stands for Available to Nurture God's Eternal Love. They get their assignment from Michael the Archangel, who ships them out in the world to help people. So kind of imagine college-age kids. The Divine Legacy series is college-age kids taking over that huge of a divine legacy. And I tell people that there ends up being an international incident angel style within the Divine Legacy series. And then there's one more book that wraps that up. It's Christmas Angels, spelled A.N.E.E.L.S., which is that acronym I told you about before. And that wraps up the whole series in a bow. And people love that because they can find out about a different character in a different part of another series. And they enjoy that part. It's kind of like getting to know an old friend of, oh, I remember them. And then that was about 10 years worth of work. And it kind of broke my heart to move forward, but I did. And I went into the Sands of Time trilogy, which is actually currently on a Lone Star Literary Life book blog tour until the 16th. And in that one, I tell people it's basically Stranger Things minus the Mind Flayer meets X-Men. It's a mental game of chess from the Professor Noah Roth, who created this. He's trying to generate this gene in kids, and this gene creates abilities. And he's been trying for 20 years, very unsuccessfully. And he does it under the guise of a fertility clinic. And what he does is he picks women with little to no family, and he seeds the experiments. So when that gene is actually generated, the moms die of quote unquote mysterious causes, but they're labeled as natural. But 2 nurses figure it out, and they're like, oh no, these kids are going to grow up lab rats, but they can only take 2. So they take 2 from a clinic in Maine and take them down to Texas and raise them in a small town in Texas called Willow Bend. What they don't know is that the professor is aware of this, and he's been watching them. And it kind of has added it to the experiment of making it a nurture versus nature situation. And at the appointed time, which is the title of book 1, he sends 2 of his strongest to go get those other 2 and to punish the nurses for taking them to begin with. And then they find out that there's more of them. So it ends up being a race against time, which is book 2, for all of the kids to try to find the other siblings who are in Maine, they're in Wyoming, and they're in Oregon. And then out of time is when everything all hits the fan. So I tell people things start blowing up in appointed time. They get explosive in race against time when they go nuclear and out of time. And then the next one I have is a standalone chain reaction. And that's my first dabble into historical fiction. And that's a time travel book. And it's where the great, great, great grandson goes back to the great, great, great grandmother. And they travel back in time to 1813, 1922, and 1987 to purposely change their family line. They're trying to get their line extended. Now, the question the whole way through is, are they going to survive the shakeup that this does? Because anytime you change any one element in history, it does change everything out. So they're kind of banking on a reverse butterfly effect that it's going to help them out in the end. So you got to read the book to find out. And then I'm in 4 anthologies. 3 are Texas Sisters Press. And then there's another one from the Underground Authors that I'm a part of. And a lot of times the ones in Texas Sisters Press are kind of feeders off of the main storybooks. So you can get another part of the story. For example, this year's was connected to chain reaction. So it's where they go back to 1650 Ireland, to where Cromwell has outlawed Christmas and they bring Christmas to the clan. So it's kind of all strung together. My main tagline is, why the stories are fiction, the journey is real. And so my books like to take you on a journey. Now, really quick, the children's series follow Chief and Sarge, which are 2 little stuffed animals. And that was a complete accident. I collect monkeys, and we had found a monkey in California at the base when we were there. It had a little US MC kerchief, and so I named him Sarge. And my husband retired as a Navy senior chief, and because he was a medic, 20 of his 24 and a half years were with the Marines. So we also got Sarge, a buddy named Chief. So there's Chief and Sarge. And we take them literally on trips. So it's kind of like Flat Stanley used to be when we were growing up, for those who remember Flat Stanley, where they take pictures on trips. Well, these 2 little guys can get into anything and everything, things that little kids would love to have gotten into. And I posted their pictures, and someone said, well, you need to do children's books. And I'm like, but I'm a big people book author. And they're like, no, you need to do children's books. And so I'm like, okay. So I have 2 of them out. And one couple things that are in all of them is there is a safety page, as well as there are some fun facts in the back that I found that some families use them as trivia questions. So that's basically an all-encompassed. I also have coming out in August, you get the first tip notice, a book called Tested by Fire. And it's one that's been in the works for a while, but I finally have the time to do it. And it's where a fire marshal falls in love with an arsonist before he realizes she's the arsonist.
Oh my gosh. My head is literally spinning around, levitating. And as you're speaking, I'm looking at all the things that you do, author, blogger, podcast. How do you have time to do anything else? I don't get. It's amazing what you've accomplished. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's balance. I've learned a long time, especially for the last few years, that my main focus is balance, making sure that things are proportional to my schedule. And also, I turn my phone ringer off after 5 o'clock at night, unless I've already got an interview or something scheduled.
I love that. That's a great tip. For Red, I'm going to go back to you in a second, but for people who are thinking, wow, my life's completely, and I'm one of those people. How do you keep things in balance? Like, do you decide you're going to spend so many hours a day or a week writing or publishing? How does that work out?
I'm proactive on a lot of things. For example, I do the marketing for my stuff as well as for Texas Sisters Press. Lydia handed the reins to Super Hubby and I in August. And so basically I am Texas Sisters Press now. So if I know things are coming, I also follow the end process. So I do a lot of the ads. For example, the holiday ads, I actually do them. I'll get a hold of my people in September and October, and I have them already created and ready to go. And they have their ads and everything is all set to go by the time Black Friday comes. And when somebody contacts me with a book, I take them all through a marketing 101 class, marketing and branding class, and I make sure that they're set up. And I teach them that this is how you do it. So I know how long it takes me to do stuff. And I've gotten it down to the science of, it's not a matter of this day's allotted to this, or I write this many pages here, because I'm a pantser. So that's the ADD portion of me. But the OCD portion of me makes sure that everything does get done. And if I know I have this goal to reach here, I know that I have to have this benchmark here, this benchmark there, this benchmark next to reach the goal at the end. And that's generally how I operate. I just kind of plan ahead. I'm more reactive or proactive instead of reactive.
What a blessing that is. Something you and Red, I think, both have in common is you both get things done. And in terms of partnering, when you work with somebody else on a project, that can be the delay, because you're going, and the other person's like, yeah, I'm going to get to it but both of you, from my experience, you get things done, you do what you say you're going to do, and you're both really reliable and responsible. So I love that.
Thank you.
Red?
CJ, you briefly mentioned marketing in your Texas Sisters Press. I publish books, but that's all I do. There's a lot of aspects of publishing that most people have no idea. They just write a book and then boom, it's published. That's all they got to do. Why don't you take us a little bit through what is Texas Sisters Press? What kind of books do you do? What kind of services you offer? Let people know what is Texas Sisters Press and how you can help them.
Oh, sure. A Texas Sisters Press is a hybrid publishing company. Do not make that a secret. Some people are like, well, you never pay to get a book published. Well, that depends. What are you getting in return? When you come to be a Texas Sisters Press author, you're part of the family. We take you under our wing. I teach you marketing and branding. I make sure that everything is straight across the board, how it's supposed to be. So when your book is launched, you've already got a base of how to handle social media. Social media is the best free form of advertising. It's word of mouth. It's the best way to get it out there, period. And it costs you absolutely nothing. So I cringe a lot of times when I go to try to find an author for one of the other podcasts I'm on, and they have 6 different handles because there's one for each of the social medias. And I'm like, no, it needs to be same straight across the board. That's branding. Marketing. You got to make sure to not just get your stuff out about your books, because if you keep saying, buy my book, I'm going to buy my book, buy my book, no one's going to buy your book. So I teach them, they want to get to know the author, because if they can connect with the author on a completely different level, then that's creating a loyal follower. So for example, a portion of the proceeds from my novels all go to charities. So for one of them, Grace Restored series, is Hope Store, which is a domestic violence shelter in Plano. The reason I chose that was because I went through Hope Store before I met my husband. And so that particular charity is really close to my heart. And when people figure that out, a lot of times I get responses of, oh, I am too. And that connects and that creates a bond with a reader. That can't be replaced either. But when it comes to the actual process, I meet with them, find out where they are in the process. If they need editors or they need illustrators, if they're a children's book, we do not have those at Texas Sisters Press, but I do have a list of some that we have worked with or some of our other authors have worked with, and it gives you a place to start. Once the book is fully edited is when it comes to me. I format it. If it's a children's book, it's going to take a lot longer, because formatting a children's book does take a lot longer to do. For the black and white books, I work on them with a cover. We get the cover ready to go. And once they got it right and how they want it, I ship it up to Ingram. We have them, their choices are hardback, paperback, ebook. And then we get it up there. We do a hour-long book launch with them, 45 minutes to an hour. We pull in other authors of like genres. So everybody gets exposure and you get a lot of cross-promoting going on. And that gets your word out a little bit faster, kind of gives them a little bit of a bump. And then what we do is I don't just drop them after that. I'm there for them. They know that they can email me. They know that they can call me. They know that they can text me. When it comes to the holidays, I will contact them and say, hey, this is what we're doing. When it comes to the author's pay, that's a lot of times what people get kind of sticky about. Well, our authors retain full copyrights to everything that they do, and they get 90% of the net and then 100% of the Kindle, because we help them set up their own Kindle account. And that's basically what we do for our authors. We treat them like family, how we want to be treated. We teach them the stuff that we wanted to learn when we started, but they have the experience of learning it from somebody who's been in it for over 10 years.
What kinds of authors is Texas Sisters proudly present, and what kinds of genres do you stay away from?
We have a wide variety. We have a lot of children's books. We have quite a few YA. We have a few adult. We have one nonfiction. But we do what's called clean reads. And so our bar is, my mother passed away in 2021. But if we knew that our mother could read it and not blush, that was our line. They're not all Christian. Some are Christian, some are not. But what they are is they are clean reads. So they're a clean read for the family. And we try to put the best quality books. We read them all before we put them out to make sure that, yes, they are up to the standard. There is a line, and that line is generally my books. We don't allow a lot of swearing. We don't allow sex, like over sexual. We do not do erotica. And we just like to be able to, mine totes the line of violence, basically. There is a line that's there.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Very clearly done.
Thank you. And if we don't fit it, I can always send you somewhere else because I do know other places.
CJ, I'm wondering, you offer this beautiful comprehensive package. One thing that and I think you and I have talked about this on another show, but where I find it really difficult is after the book's launch, getting reviews. And people will read the book, but they don't put a review. And I feel like for me, that's really been a stumbling block, is getting enough reviews. And I mentioned this to Red, that I've had a number of people reach out to me through social media that they have the answer. They've got this great program that these unknown people, whoever they are going to read. And the one person put in a contract, 750 guaranteed sales within 3 weeks. Is this even possible?
No, it is not. They cannot guarantee that at all. Getting reviews is difficult, and that is probably the hardest thing for an author to get, but it is the biggest present for a reader to give an author. It gives them sometimes the encouragement, and if they are constructive versus destructive, an author can learn how to help, maybe give their next book a better boost and to maybe clear some stuff up, like maybe I need to write a prequel. And it gives them some ideas, as long as it's constructive versus destructive. As far as guaranteeing sales or guaranteeing, reviews and stuff like that, I wouldn't trust it. Not really, because they're not genuine. You want organic and you want genuine. It's best to grow slow. It's best to get it out there, and it's best to do it. Word of mouth is the highest form of flattery that an author can get. And if you're paying for these people to do it, my question is it legal, what they're doing? And that also wreaks havoc when it comes to Amazon, because it throws Amazon's algorithms off, and authors who have genuine reviews get in trouble and stuff gets cut off, which is frustrating.
Yeah, to your point, I just wanted to share, because when people reach out to me, I like to see, okay, what is it they're offering? Let's see if it makes any sense. $225 for 750 book sales, 25 real reviews on all these different platforms. I mean, it's impossible.
It really is. That's not something that, if they say it's a guarantee, I don't agree with it. I am a blogger for Lone Star Literary Life, and so they can do book blog tours. For example, I have one on right now. There's going to be 6 reviews. Now, did I pay for them? Yes. But they're accurate. I've got one that just gave me 3.5 stars. I would rather have an organically accurate 3.5 star than some 5-star that someone just put up there. I want to know that the person read the book, and I want to know if they have any questions. I want to know how I can clear things up. And that's kind of, for me, the purpose of the reviews. Some people put up too much stock in the reviews and in the numbers and all that. I just go about it organically. I'm not an author to make money. That's what the other stuff is for. And that also helps get content out. For example, for you are an author, but you're mainly a podcaster and a journalist type. So that's where your main content, you always have content going out with all of these shows. People get to know your name when they find out you have a book, like, oh, I know her. Let me check out her book. That's how that works. You have to get your name out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, Red.
CJ, how do you market kids' books as opposed to adult books? Because you do both of them and it's part of your business.
I do. And you have to do it differently. Children's books, it's all about color and punch and attractiveness to a child. You have to, if you're going for book awards, you have to do book awards that are generally centered on children's books. For example, the Purple Dragonfly Award or Story Monster Approved. Those are things that schools look for. That's how you're marketing. You're marketing it toward the parents, but geared toward kids. So a lot of it is the hashtags that you use when you're doing the marketing. When it comes to big people books, what is your target audience? Like, well, I wrote it for anybody to read it. That's great. But what is your target audience? My target audience is generally women between, I'd say 25 to 40, generally homeschooled moms, because I touch a lot of subjects that not a lot of people, Christian authors, care to touch. But I do it, and the way I present it allows the parent to open up a conversation with the kid. And I've had tons of homeschool parents tell me that they've read the book, passed it to their kids, and it's opened up a door of something they may not be able to teach them because they are homeschooling them or because the way the world currently is. And so it's all in, who is your target? Is it men? Is it firefighting men? Is it policemen? Is it FBI? Is it a spy type people? Is it military people? Is it, what exactly is it are you targeting? And that's what you have to find out first, is who is your target.
I've heard the term quite often when I ask people, who's your audience? And they'll say, anybody who can read, or something along those lines. And I said, okay, so that means that the homeless guy out there underneath the overpass is one of your target. He says, and they stop. I said, yeah, he can certainly afford your books, right? And he's going to keep them. And so all of a sudden they start thinking that it's not everyone, but then they don't have a way of actually consolidating in their brain. So when you have a client, a new one, and they're having a book come out and they said, everyone, how do you get that person to focus on really and truly identifying that target market? That's a hard thing to do.
It is. But a lot of times when someone's writing a book, regards to fiction, we'll target fiction right now because that's generally what we're talking about. When you're writing fiction, you're picturing you're writing it for somebody, whether it's, like I said, whether military would appreciate it more, or EMS workers of any kind will appreciate it more, whether it's IT type people for those, techno type thrillers or sci-fi ones. Is your group the Comic-Con crew? Because that's got all of your sci-fi genres and your fantasy genres all wrapped into one. And so, for example, I'd ask somebody, so would your book do well in a Comic-Con? Well, I think so. Well, why? Because of these reasons. Okay, then that's your target audience. And you just ask them some questions and figure out, okay, who would your book apply to? Who do you think would most enjoy it? And that's how you gear them down.
And do they ever ask you what's Comic-Con?
If they ask me what's Comic-Con and their book is sci-fi or fantasy, then we have a problem and they need to rewrite the book. CJ, I wanted to go back to what you were speaking about before in terms of awards. So for people who might not be aware, they're not going to get, and maybe they will, they're not going to get a phone call or an email from some organization saying, hey, by the way, we selected you, you didn't apply. You have to apply. Is that correct?
Yes. More times than not. I have rarely ever heard of somebody saying they've gotten a call. It's not like the Academy Awards where somebody just nominates you. You generally have to apply for them, but you have to find one that fits your genre. I was on a podcast last night and somebody called in and said, well, how do I know which ones to apply for? And my first question was, what's your genre? When you find out what the genre is, and you can narrow it down. Hers were children's books. So I explained the Purple Dragonfly Award, which is an international award, and then the Story Monsters, which a lot of schools look for. So that allowed her to focus it in. And she goes, okay, great. Well, it's children's books, and that would fit it. So yes, you do have to apply for them. I have not really heard of it happening the other way, though. You know what? Feel free, contact me. If you want to nominate me for an award, go for it.
Absolutely. It's interesting. We've had a couple of authors on here, one New York Times bestseller, and then also USA Today. And in both cases, neither one of them knew that they had earned that award. Somebody saw it on something and contacted them and said, by the way, I just saw that your book is listed as New York Times bestseller. I thought, that's kind of crazy, isn't it?
I would love that. Let me know how that works.
So if we think about children's books just for a minute, I've got some children's books with Red on and some more coming. When you in sales, we would call it the funnel. When you sort of target the funnel, my books are to teach children and their families how to listen. So is it all children? Is it all families? Is it all over the world? I would like it to be, but I guess that seems a little grandiose.
You're trying to narrow it down to a certain age group. Does your book appeal to kids that are more, or can more kids, what age can understand what's actually in the book, generally speaking? You target an age group, like mine are 6 to 8 year olds. However, older ones can read it. Younger ones it can be read to them. So you just got to figure out what age level is it actually written for. And a lot of times people are like, well, I'm not 100% sure. Go to your local library. Find books that are slightly like what you're wanting to do. Find out the age that they're actually written for and go from there.
Thank you.
One last item to bring up for those people not aware, but when you apply for an award, it's generally not a freebie that you just, hey, here's my book. It generally, you send a check along with your book so that it can be considered. So it's not just one of those ones, I'll just put it here, put it there, fire them all out and see what one comes back. It's not an investment, but it's not just a small pittance either in many cases. So I think that people need to understand that there is a cost when you apply for somebody to evaluate your book and be able to determine whether it's an award-winning book or not.
Yeah, and you're not going to get an award every time that happens. It's more of a numbers game.
CJ, do you get any confirmation? You apply, you send in the money, and do you get a receipt saying, hey, we received this from you. We're not sure if you're okay. So at least they acknowledge it.
Correct. And you also need it for your records that you paid it out, because that's a tax deduction.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We had somebody on here who actually was applying, took their book and made it into an animation, and they were submitting it to the Oscars and had to send along at the time a $10,000 check. So I thought, wow, that's a big commitment if you don't get selected.
That's steep. That's not one I'd want to venture into.
No, she's in another part of the world. So
yeah, if somebody wants to do it for me, go for it. But
yeah,
not me.
So, CJ, we're getting down toward the end of the time here today. Why don't you let the audience know, what value you bring as a publisher that you can really and truly shine above most others, and how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I can answer the second one first. I am pretty much all over. You can find me at cjpetersonwrites.com. That has all of my social media links. Most of my handles are either authoress CJ or authoress_CJ if the first one was taken. My picture is the same, so you know that you'll find me when you find me. You know it's me. So make sure to do it that way. You can also go to my website under contact. You can fill out, there's a form under there that you can fill out and it comes straight to me. You can also subscribe to my newsletter and you can hit reply on that. And I will reply from that as well. As far as the value, I like to talk about it more in the lines of sweat equity. Yes, they do pay me, but I pay them because I'm always available to them as a family member. And each Texas Sisters Press author is a family member, and I check in on them. I make sure that they're okay. I make sure that if they're doing something, they can feel free to ask questions. If they're like, well, things aren't selling, okay, let's talk about some marketing ideas and let's get you moving again. See what happens. Things happen. People in the Texas Sisters Press family message me and they're like, hey, I need prayer for this. They know that I'm going to do that because they're part of the family.
Thanks, CJ. Just a follow up, and I'd love to have you come back maybe on the business show and discuss this because I think it's really important. You mentioned, yes, I do charge. Why wouldn't you charge? But so many women, me included, over time, we don't feel like we should be charging money, or we're afraid to ask for our value. And I don't know if it is that way with men, but I know a ton of women that this is definitely an issue. So I'm glad that you stated you have value, you have worth, and you provide services that in exchange you should be paid for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And just because somebody's working, just a lot of times people are like, well, can you help me with this? Yes, I can help you with that. But if the project gets too big, then you and I need to talk about some sort of a compensation, because this is my time. My time is valuable. I am an author, blogger, podcaster, publisher, and speaker, and that takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And the blogger and the podcaster are both times 2, or actually times 3, because of the corner bookstore. And so, yeah, a lot of times people don't understand, like, well, you're at home. Okay, so my office is at home. That doesn't mean that my time is any less valuable. My commute is less. And so, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Time is money. Money is time. And you can't get anything for free. If you do, you might want to check on it and find out why.
Yeah, it could be a self-esteem issue. But so I read one more comment that I just recently met with 2 women, and we're talking about doing an affiliate site. And the one woman, I mentioned that I like to do things rather quickly. And she said, okay, if you want to do things quickly, that means that I'm going to have to give up time with my family, and that's going to cost you. And I thought, good for you. Yes, that's right. If you can't be with your family, it should cost extra money to get it done quickly. And I really appreciated her for saying that. And I thought, this is somebody I want to work with, because she just puts it right out there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And when it comes to family, you have to remember, social media can suck you in big time, but they're not going to be the ones there when you're either hurt or you've got a loss or you are lost. The ones that are going to count are going to be your family and your friends. So do not lose those connections over the rest of the world. Family and friends, close friends, are the ones that really do matter.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Great point. So please do join us on the business show so we can have a chat about this too.
Mm-hmm.
Before CJ leaves, I want to make sure for our audio audience, the radio and podcasting, CJ Peterson writes, it's CJ, the 2 letters, Peterson, Peterson, writes is WRITES. So CJ Peterson, WRITES.com.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you. And thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for being here. And we'll look forward to seeing you on some additional shows, co-hosting, and as well as being a guest.
Definitely.
All right. Take care of yourself.
Take care, CJ.
Bye.
Bye now.
I feel like CJ is like a team leader. Everybody wants to follow around, and she's got this great energy about her, which is really, it's so nice. It is. It's wonderful.
And she has a history of being able to get stuff done.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I liked her instantly.
Not that 3,345 shows is something to sneeze at.
Where does the time go? Well, the time is going because your next show is coming up. So for people who are just joining us, we have had some new people join in the last 20 minutes or so. Tell us about this episode on Talking Heads.
We're doing a 6-part series right now. Today is number 5 out of 6 on toxins in your health. What are they? Where do you find them? How do you know you're there? What do they do to you? What can you do about them, generally speaking? Well, we've taken things from the 30,000 foot level down to about the 500 foot level. And we're really looking right now at the labels of things that we eat on a regular basis. I'll be one of the first ones to tell you, Popeye's chicken, I love it. There's no doubt in my mind. If I have a choice of chicken, I'm going to go to Popeye's because it tastes so good. But I also know why it tastes so good, because of the chemicals they have in there. But it's part of that thing that we never really know what's going on. So I've taken a very in-depth look at Popeye's chicken over last week, and I'm going to finish it up this week. And I'm going to open up the door on Popeye's Cajun fries and take a look at, the dozen things that they have that are good that I'm really not going to just talk about. The fact that they do have some really good stuff in there, but then they have these other items that could be considered toxic in some way, shape, or form. And so that's what today is. And then next week we'll finish up the toxic series and then figure out what we're going to do after that. But if you need to get in touch with me, like I say, I'm a writer, an author, a speaker, red.olaughlin.com. That's red like the color. R-E-D, O'Laughlin spelled O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N. So it's Red O'Laughlin, RED-OLAUGHLIN.com. And all my banner information is there to get in touch with me.
Thank you, Red. What I'd love to see you do for the next series is I'm not a soda drinker. I don't think I've had a soda in seriously 30 plus years, but I know someone really well who loves soda. I think it would be very interesting. Soda is so popular to actually do an analysis. If you were to take something and soak it in soda leave it in soda for a certain amount of time and see what actually happens, because that's what's happening to people's teeth and their insides, because it's not just sugar, it's all, I think the whole thing is chemicals, isn't it?
Well, is there something in there that's not a chemical?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. When I've looked at the can to try to assure someone that this is not the way to a good, healthy lifestyle, I'm like, do you see anything in here that's natural or grown? Or no, it's,
No.
but long term, I would think it has to have some kind of serious impact.
I'm sure it does. But again, you're looking at foods are not things that the FDA looks at and says thumbs up or thumbs down on, because they can't do clinical trials on. So sometimes you ask a question, but the ingredients, yes, they can do a thumbs up or thumbs down on the ingredients. But we have some, and I'll talk about one today that, the FDA banned in cosmetics, but they still allow in food. Why would you do that? It's just, and same thing, European Union has about 1,100 items that they say absolutely no way in the world will we allow that stuff in here. And so the U.S. manufacturers, when they produce food items for Europe, or cosmetics or personal care products, they abide by their rules and give them what they want. But when they come back to the States, they dump all that rest of the stuff in it that has some issues, maybe with regard to how much, how long, etc. But anyway, but yes, I will give that some thought. It's an interesting topic. I don't know that I can fill 6 weeks up with it, because I don't know if I can talk about Coca-Cola for a whole day. But we may venture into that realm, or maybe I might even try to put it in the conclusion next week when I look at what are other things out there as far as because we don't think of sugar as a toxin, but it can be addictive. It can easily be affecting your health. There are a lot of things there, and if we talk about toxins affecting our health in a negative way, I can remember the first time I tried to detox off of sugar back in the 80s. I had all sorts of withdrawals. Nowadays I find it absolutely easy as can be to do it, because I've done it so often. I've already done one 80-hour fast this month, and I'll probably do one or two more, especially since Lent is coming up. I think I did a 220-hour fast last year to start Lent. And so I'll be doing some kind of long fast to start Lent. But I've also learned lately about autophagy and mTOR, and I'm not going to go into those right now, but those are two really important things we need to consider in balance. And it's something that's very, very critical for our health in many, many ways. But regardless, we're going to talk about that, and just, let's just make people aware, provide a little education, let some people who really need to take action go talk to their doctors and figure out what they can do. And let's see if we can improve health one person at a time.
I love it. Thank you, Red. And also just a quick comment I took away from last week when you were talking about the red dye. I don't know if it was number 4 in lipstick. And I always have my lipstick right here to touch up. And I thought, I wish I kept the box, because I wear red lipstick all the time. And now I'm thinking, what's actually in here?
Go to drgoogle.com. They'll generally show you the outside of the box where it has the ingredients, or you can go to the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, and you can look up that specific brand of lipstick in there. It'll tell you exactly what's in there and what are the hazards associated with each one of the ingredients.
I got chills on that. All right. Thank you. We are going to sign off for now. We want to thank CJ so much for being here. And Red will be coming right back with his Talking Head segment on toxins. I'll be producing backstage, and I'll be all ears listening to what I can learn today. So thank you, everyone. We're happy that you're here, and we'll see you soon.
Bye now.